everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for coming out this morning to hear from our candidates. My name is Caitlin Shanahan. I am the Manager of Communication and Development here at Life After 50. So I just wanted to start the day by welcoming you all to our home. And please, for any of you who have never been here before, we would invite you to take a tour before you head out today, just so you can learn a little bit more about who we are and what we have to offer and the services that we offer to the citizens of this riding. And we also have some literature and information in the back corner there. So welcome. And now, without further ado, I will turn it over to get this meeting started. So I would like to turn it over to our moderator, who will officially welcome our candidates for joining us today. Our moderator is Lynn Adams from our Board of Directors. And take it away, Lynn. Thank you very much for helping us out today.
Thank you, Caitlin. Stand. The rules for today have been reviewed by each of the candidates, and they agreed to the rules. I'll be very brief. What there will be is a introduction and an opportunity for each candidate to go through their platform and why they should be elected as representatives for Windsor West. But first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for being here and for trying to find out who they should vote for. One thing I do hope is that you do vote. No personal derogatory remarks will be allowed either from the candidates or from the audience. Please, there will be an opportunity for questions, but please keep your questions generic as possible, general questions, but we're focusing on seniors issues ideally. All candidates will have an opportunity to finalize, to briefly explain why we should vote for them, and all my decisions are final. Let's go through and let's meet the candidates. I'll ask them to stand when I introduce them. First of all, there's Teresa Piruzza, the Liberal incumbent from Windsor West. Lisa Gretzky, NDP Party. And regrettably, we received regrets from Henry Liu, the Progressive Conservative, and Chad DeRoche from the Green Party. Now, what I will do is I will ask the incumbent, Teresa Piruzza, to come up and give opening remarks. Teresa?
First.
Yes. Oh, no, I apologize. We discussed this and I have such a short memory. Lisa Gretzky will come up from the NDP party.
Good morning, everyone. I apologize if I sniffle a little. My allergies are getting the best of me. I'd like to start by thanking the organizers, Life After 50 and Caitlin Shanahan over there in the corner. I'll start by speaking a little bit about myself. As I was introduced, I'm Lisa Gretzky. I'm the NDP candidate for Windsor West. I am a married mother of 2 children, still currently in the public school board system. I am also a school board trustee with the public school board. I'm in my 2nd term, and I'm the current vice chair of the school board. Through my work on the school board over the years, I've had many families in contact with me over issues, not just education related. They call because they're having issues at home as far as jobs or paying the bills or access to community services. So I've heard a lot of stories about people struggling in this area. I became really concerned with the direction the province was going when I saw, with the stroke of a pen, the entire horse racing industry decimated in this area. And hundreds of workers were handed their pink slips when they canceled the slots at racetrack program. And many of those families have children in our system, so I've heard the stories of their struggles. I decided to run for the NDP party. I've been a long longstanding supporter of the NDP, and I decided it was time to actually move up and try to make a difference at the provincial level. There's only so much that we can do at the municipal level. We need a change that creates jobs rather than kills jobs in our community. A change that will make life more affordable for our families. And with the NDP, that's a party that will deliver that change. After 10 years of Liberal government in Ontario, the job losses have been staggering. There have been over 300,000 jobs that have vanished. We can't trust them, the Liberal government, to keep their promises. Their government is mired in another ugly scandal that has cost Ontarians $1 billion. It's getting increasingly difficult for all of us to make ends meet. They are failing our region and our province in delivering core services effectively. The Tories, well, their plan just doesn't make sense. An analysis just published yesterday estimated that if Mr. Hudak is given the chance to make good on his promise to fire 100,000 workers across this province, that will affect over 3,000 people right here in Windsor. We're supposed to be growing the economy and creating jobs, and it looks like Mr. Hudak just doesn't get that. The NDP platform was just released yesterday, and we brought a few copies if anyone is interested, and if we didn't bring enough with us, they are available online at ontariondp.ca, or Kieran is over here and you can take information down and we can make sure that there's extra copies dropped off here for you. I'm very proud of the platform because I think it represents a responsible way forward. When I think about what we can do to make our community a place that makes sense for aging Ontarians, I think about building a community that is affordable and accessible. A place where we can grow older, we are confident that we can deliver core services effectively and routinely. I noted your slogan, which is be fit, be social, be well. New Democrats have a plan that can bring these pillars to life. Clearly, healthcare is a priority, and I want to specifically outline the key aspects of the NDP plan to improve healthcare service delivery in our region. But we have to remain cognizant that healthy communities are affordable and accessible. We will invest in public transit and improve infrastructure in the community. We will lower your car insurance by 15% and eliminate the HST off of hydro. Direct practical measures that make sense, that will make life more affordable and put money back in your pocket so you can spend it on your priorities. Another interesting proposal that the NDP would implement is a retraining program for workers over the age of 55. So anyone over the age of 55 that finds themselves out of work for whatever reason, there will be a retraining so you can go back into the workforce. I'd like to talk specifically about how the NDP would improve healthcare services and delivery in the region. The NDP will reduce ER wait times by hiring 250 nurse practitioners to treat and discharge patients in the ERs and improve access to long-term care. The NDP will create 1,400 new long-term care beds, which will take pressure off our acute care hospitals and streamline the transfer process from ERs for patients that require hospitalization. We will eliminate the list of 3,300 Ontarians waiting for personal support workers. These clients will receive approximately 2 nursing visits and 7.5 hours of personal care each month. We are introducing a fully refundable tax credit for caregivers to make it easier to care for the loved ones when they are ill. As you can see, the NDP is making improving our health care a priority. I just want to wrap up once again by thanking the organizers and Caitlin, and I'm so happy to be able to take part in this discussion today. And if anyone would like to get in touch with the campaign office, you can just come up and see myself or Kieran afterwards, and we'll give you the contact information. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Teresa, would you like to have some opening remarks?
Well, thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Caitlin. Good morning, everyone. Always a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for being here this morning on such a beautiful day out there. I'm Teresa Piruzza, and I'm running for re-election as your MPP for Windsor West. In 2011, 2011, I put my name on the ballot because I wanted to protect and build on the vital investments that have been made in Windsor over the last decade. Prior to being elected, I was the Director of Employment and Social Services with the City of Windsor. I was the director when our unemployment rate locally was around 15%. That's come down to around 8%. I certainly know where this community has been. I know the challenges we have faced, and I know that there's more to do. Drive around this community. We've seen improvements to our hospitals, to our schools, to our university and college, and to supports being provided to families. Windsor is getting its fair share, and that's what I intend to keep up. I'm looking ahead with a plan for the future of Windsor. This campaign is about leadership, it's about having a vision and the experience to bring people together and get results. My focus, my resolve, is stronger than ever before. I know the strengths of our region and I know its challenges. But most importantly, I know that without a clear plan, our progress will stop. This morning, I'd like to speak to you about 3 particular topics. I want to outline how I plan to improve our health care, create jobs, and help Windsor families with retirement security. I remember 10 to 15 years ago, and I'm sure all of you here do as well, when this community was going through a healthcare crisis. Our hospitals were jammed, wait lists for surgeries were completely unacceptable, and you had to leave Windsor for basic healthcare services. We had 1 MRI machine working just 8 hours a day. We had to send all kinds of patients to Detroit and London. Families in Windsor couldn't find a family doctor. Under previous governments, providing quality health care in Windsor, Essex was not a priority, and it showed. I remember working for Sandra Pupatello in the late 90s when Mike Harris was our premier. Things got so bad in this community that we established a 1-800 healthcare hotline. We did this to handle the massive flood of questions and concerns that were coming in from frustrated Windsorites. After 10 years investments, healthcare in this region looks much different than it did 10 years ago. We have 2 fully functioning MRI machines. There are now 3 machines performing CAT scans. We have a new medical school that attracts doctors and keeps them in this region. And we're even seeing doctors in Windsor advertising for new patients. These investments made by our government have improved the quality of care and accessibility for services. We've invested in new modern and state-of-the-art health programs and procedures for this community. There's a new Windsor Regional Cancer Center. Women in our community now have a health center to call their own. And just last month, I was pleased to announce our new regional comprehensive men's health care program that became a reality. Our Liberal government is also investing in home care in an unprecedented manner because we want everyone to stay in their home as long as they want to while receiving quality care. Our health action plan is to ensure that you get the right care, the right place, at the right time. We want everyone to stay in their home as long as they want to while receiving quality care. In our 2014 budget, we put aside $300 million over the next decade to shift the focus for seniors from going to the hospital to care in their home. We also created a healthy home tax credit. So if seniors decide they need to renovate their home to make it more accessible and safer, they'll receive a tax break on the renovations. I'm confident these investments will improve the overall healthcare services in Windsor. But we know there's more to do. We're committed to expanding our angioplasty program. I've worked hard to ensure that expansion moves forward, and we'll make sure that the final touches are finalized very soon. An issue that I know is on many people's minds in our community is a new hospital. The new hospital, to me, represents the future of healthcare in Windsor. Right now, roughly 1/3 of the beds in Windsor Regional are private rooms. Compare that to all modern hospitals where 80% of beds are private rooms. We need to make sure that the process for the hospital is done right, and the community must be involved. Most importantly, we must make sure that this process does not become delayed. I will promise to you that as your MPP, I will deliver the new hospital, and I have a commitment from my leader to do so. I will make sure the project is done right, on time, and on budget. In this election, there's a lot of concern in our community over the economy and current job opportunities. As a key part of my plan, I will continue to be focused on creating jobs for today and tomorrow. I believe government has a responsibility to foster an environment that encourages prosperity. For instance, I can't think of a significant automotive investment in the world that did not include public support. That's why we need to continue to support our auto industry and the countless men and women who work to manufacture the pride of this region. We need a national automotive strategy that will help locate, reinvest, and expand automotive production and its supply chain. Coupled with our new Jobs and Prosperity Fund will help secure new investments and jobs that matter to our local economy. We want to invest in the automotive sector, and we want companies like Chrysler to stay and grow in Windsor and across the province. And through initiatives that I brought forward, such as We Export, we will be able to bring international buyers to our region's doorstep and help local companies expand globally. I'm proud of our city, and we deserve modern infrastructure. Our new Schlegel Villages is close to being opened. I was there a couple weeks ago and it looks fabulous. The Southwest Detention Center was built here in Windsor, saving 180 jobs locally and adding 100 more. Right here in Windsor is one of the largest infrastructure projects in Ontario, the Right Honourable Herb Gray Parkway, a $1.4 billion project that's transforming our community. These are investments that create a foundation for the future. That's why in the 2014 budget, we set aside a 10-year infrastructure plan. It is this plan that will move forward projects such as a new hospital and high-speed rail service, and also attract new ones as well. Third, I know there's real concern over retirement security. I believe that a secure and safe retirement shouldn't be a privilege for the few, but available for folks who have spent their lives working hard every day. In Ontario today, around 35% have a retirement pension plan through work. We have to work towards that. But we know we tried the discussion with the federal government, and Prime Minister Stephen Harper would have nothing of it. Tim Hudak would have nothing of it. And yesterday we heard Andrew Horvath say that we'll just wait till Thomas Mulcair becomes Prime Minister before they deal with it at the federal level. We need leadership on this issue. My priority will be to deliver enhanced retirement security. Most experts agree that people are not saving enough for their security, and that something must be done. What the Made in Ontario pension plan will do is provide additional retirement security as an enhancement to the CPP. I again want to thank all of you for taking time out on a very beautiful sunny day outside to be with us here today. This is what I'm focused on as your MPP. Windsor West has been my home my entire life. I was born here, was raised downtown, educated here, and I'm raising my family here. I believe investing in people, investing in infrastructure, and working in partnership to bring investment and employment to this area is critical. I will continue the progress of the last decade and continue to enhance and protect our local economy and public services. I look forward to continuing to serve the people of Windsor West with dedication and integrity, and bring my passion for this community to Queen's Park. Windsor West deserves to have a voice that will be heard. Thank you very much, everyone.
You've heard both candidates with their opening remarks. As I mentioned before, each candidate was given 3 questions at this particular time. I'll call the candidates up randomly, and I'll ask a question, and then each of the other candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. So they'll be given 2 minutes to answer the question and 2 minutes to respond. The first question is, planning is now moving forward for a new mega hospital, which will become the single acute care hospital for this region. The doors to the new hospital could open in 7 to 10 years. How will your party ensure that Windsor receives a state-of-the-art facility which will meet the current and future needs of patients, staff, and our members of this community? Teresa, would you like to respond to that question, please?
Thank you very much, and I touched on this in my opening comments, so I'm pleased to expand on it. As some of you may know, or may recall, back in 2012, I co-chaired the original task force with Dave Cook and Tom Porter in terms of speaking to our community, speaking to a number of different sectors in our community to gauge whether we were ready, whether we had the leadership to move forward for a new acute site hospital. The answer was resounding yes, we need to move forward with this project. So I worked with our leadership at our hospitals, I worked with our task force and the committee that we had put together. We put together the original report, and I delivered that report to the Premier and to the Minister of Health. I'm glad to say that as a result of our consultations, as a result of our report that we brought forward, we are moving forward with the planning for a new hospital. The hospital has received its initial planning allocation of $2.5 million for the first phase of planning, and we are working very closely with the Minister of Health. I am absolutely committed to this project and have regular discussions with the Minister of Health and with the Premier on this project, as they're always asking how we're doing. What I can say too is locally, we have amazing leadership at our hospitals and in our healthcare. You don't realize how quickly we've been able to come across in terms of getting to where we're at now with the planning compared to other communities. And that is because of the leadership in this community, and that's because we did things right. We brought the community together, I brought people around the table, and that's how you get results. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa?
The NDP fully supports a new hospital in Windsor. That's a fabulous long-term plan for down the road. But what we need to look at is the issues that we have currently in our healthcare system. Because building a hospital down 7 to 10 years down the road doesn't solve the problems of today. So the NDP has a plan to help alleviate the ER wait times, to shorten the wait time for in-home care. We want to build 50 24-hour clinics so that people who don't need urgent care like they would receive in an ER can go to that clinic and receive the care that they need. These are all issues that need to be addressed in the short term so that when we do have this new hospital down the road, we've already started to carve the path to an efficient healthcare system. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is more on healthcare. From aging at home initiatives to access to doctors and specialists to reduce waiting time for tests, services, and long-term care beds, the availability of healthcare service impacts everyone. A 2-hour ambulance ride to London is not the answer. How will your party ensure that Windsor continues to have adequate and timely healthcare services right in our own community? Lisa, please.
The 2-hour ambulance ride to London is clearly not the answer for residents here in Windsor. The NDP understands that timely access is a fundamental pillar of the healthcare service. We're committing to home care wait time guarantee, so we're going to reduce the wait time to 5 days for receive health care. And we'll also, as I mentioned, open 50 new facilities, family health clinics that are open 24 hours a day, so that people that don't need emergency service can go to those clinics and receive the care that they need. We also plan to hire nurse practitioners that will work in the emergency rooms so that when patients don't want to go to those clinics, they can still go to the emergency rooms and they can receive the care that they need quickly, so that the patients that are in dire need of seeing a doctor get moved through the ER and receive the treatment faster.
Teresa?
Thank you very much, and again, a critical element in terms of healthcare. As I outlined in my opening remarks, because of the investments that we've made over the last 10 years, we've really improved our healthcare services here in Windsor, but I know that there's more to do. We need to make sure that our services that we rely on remain here on Windsor. You will recall last year there was the discussion in the community when Cancer Care Ontario was considering moving thoracic surgery to London. It was the wrong move. I know it was the wrong move. It was wrong to think that patients that were currently getting services here would have to go up the road to London to get the same services. So I stepped up to make sure that those services stayed right here in Windsor. You need a voice at Queen's Park that can get results. But there is more to do, and we'll say that. Windsor deserves quality health care within our community, and I will continue to make sure that it does. This community is my home as well, so I'm absolutely dedicated to our health care. You know, when we look at some of the investments that we've made, when we look at our home and community care, in last year's budget, in the 2013 Liberal budget, we set aside $260 million for home and community care for our 2013-14. In the budget that didn't pass just before the election was called, we had set aside another $260 million for home and community care. So the health minister, the premier, our government is vested in ensuring that those investments continue on, along with major hospital redevelopments, community health care and funding in there, hospital maintenance, and hospital infrastructure. So health care in this community will always be my priority.
Thank you. The final question. Windsor is a designated age-friendly city by the World Health Organization, with a community goal of becoming this country's premier retirement community. How will your party help our community to overcome obstacles and barriers that aging residents now experience? How will your party help change current practices to accommodate and celebrate an aging population? Teresa, would you respond to that question, please?
Thank you very much. And, you know, I agree. Windsor's a world-class city, and we have so much to offer for people of all ages. And I'm glad to see that retirees are coming down to this wonderful area and making it their home. But it's important that we have the right surroundings to exist for them in this community. And I know what they look at when they come into this area as well. They look for state-of-the-art healthcare. They want their healthcare. They want amenities. They want activities, which is why it's great to have Life After 50 here to give them social activities to do and tie people into what we have here in our community. We need to continue to build on the improvements that we've made over the last number of years. We need effective infrastructure, affordable housing, which we have, regional transit, so we'll do this by updating transit, building community hubs, and improving accessibility. We need improved roads and highways as well, so it's easier to get around the city. We need facilities in the communities that are age-friendly and provide important health and social services. One of the grants, in fact, that we had brought forward in our 2013 budget, and we're increasing in our 2014, were seniors grants for communities that centers like this could access to develop different types of activities, social activities, and different elements that retirees and seniors in our area are looking for as well. But you know what? We need your input. It's your input to us that will make Windsor the best place that it can be, and that to best serve your needs as well. Again, I'll say we have a fantastic, diverse community with amenities that, you know what, that we often take for granted when we live here. Our wonderful waterfront, our trails, all our celebrations through the summer. It's that type of a vibrant community that attracts people here to this region, and we need to celebrate that and make sure everyone knows about it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa, or Lisa, I'm sorry.
Again, just to repeat some of the things I've already said, the NDP is dedicated to investing in the infrastructure and the transit here in Windsor to make all of Windsor more accessible. As a school board trustee, I was excited to hear in the platform that they're going to be investing in our schools. We have one of the largest inventory of aging schools. They're not all accessible. So the NDP wants to invest in those aging schools so that we can bring them up to date and offer them out to the communities to use. They're accessible for community use, both for seniors activities or after school programs. we're looking at decreasing wait times in ERs by putting in the nurse practitioners, opening up these clinics, and shortening the wait times at home for home care. And I think the NDP have proven in the past with our two local representatives, Teresa and Percy Hatfield, that they're really tapped into the concerns of the community. The thoracic cancer surgery was mentioned, and it was Teresa and the community that rallied together to show that it's not acceptable to be removing healthcare services from our area and expecting the residents to have to travel 2 hours up the 401. So I believe the commitment has been proven by the NDP that we want to invest in this community and make it accessible to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have an opportunity to take questions from the audience. Is there any members here from the West End Initiative? You were invited. I'll give you an opportunity to ask the question. I ask you to keep your questions to one particular topic. If you'd like a follow-up, then you're more than welcome to do that. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer or to respond to the question, and there'll be a response from the other individual. Yes, ma'am, would you like to ask a question?
I guess one of my interests is in poverty reduction. Both the candidates highlighted on some of the things that could happen to improve community in general, but I'm interested in initiatives that would reduce the poverty in the West End. I live in the Sandwich District, and I know many of the people there are pensioners, people on social assistance, and people where pension issues, they won't have enough to retire. And I'm just kind of curious about party platforms in regards to those issues and how to improve. So seniors aren't using food banks to get by, people can afford their taxes, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, thank you. Lisa, would you like to respond to that question, please? You didn't hear the question?
I think I did.
Okay.
If I go off track, let me know.
It was on poverty reduction, especially in the West End, and individuals who are have pension issues that their pension barely covered their needs. Basically, a poverty reduction, correct?
Yeah.
Right, and that's a great question. The NDP, we're really concerned about affordability, the everyday bills of people in Windsor. I know probably a lot of people in this room open their hydro bill every month, and it's a decision between whether they're going to keep the lights on or whether they're going to put food on their table. So one of the plans that we have is to remove the HST off the hydro bills and provide a $100 one-time $100 rebate to all families to help offset the cost of hydro. Also, there are several large corporations in charge of the power, and part of our plan is to consolidate those corporations. So there's just one, and so there's only one CEO running the organization, and that there's a cap on that salary. Because as you all know, the people at the top, what goes on up there affects all of us down in the end on our bills. So that's one of the ways that we're looking to help kind of take the squeeze off of people in Windsor. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Teresa?
Thank you very much. I really like that question. So as the Minister of Children and Youth Services, the provincial poverty reduction strategy came under my watch, and we were actually just finalizing the new strategy because we had our 5-year strategy. As you know, we were the first government to actually bring in a provincial poverty reduction strategy, and in that it said you have to review it every 5 years and come up with a new 5-year plan. So let me just outline, because in our budget, although we didn't come out with the final strategy, a number of the elements were in our budget which was not supported by either of the two opposition parties. So raising the minimum wage to $11 and indexing it was part of our plan. Investing in affordable housing and homelessness, we were adding $42 million to the housing initiative and negotiating with the federal government for affordable housing. Indexing the Ontario Child Benefit is going up this year, as you know, and we were going to index it. We brought in that Ontario Child Benefit, which has raised almost 50,000 children out of poverty and prevented about 70,000 from getting into poverty. Establishing a new health benefit program for low-income children, not just dental, a full health benefit program for children. Continuing to reform social assistance reform, expanding student nutrition program. $800 million was in this budget to eliminate the wait list for adults with developmental disabilities. Again, not supported. Creating a more accessible justice system, so poverty reduction, absolutely. I have been working on that even before I was elected as the Director of Employment and Social Services. And in the West End, if we look at moving the Community Health Center over to the old College Avenue Center and ensuring that services stay in the West End. So thank you for the question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do you have a follow-up to that question, or are you satisfied with the responses?
I'm satisfied, don't move to other questions, I can always ask again, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have a question, I guess, of Ms. Gretzky. I think I heard her mention 15 24-hour health clinics that would be set up. Are any of them going to be in Windsor, or are they across the whole province?
Okay. The question was, you mentioned 15 24-hour healthcare clinics would be open, and the question deals with, would they be in Windsor or across the province? And Lisa, would you like to respond?
Thanks for the question, Kim.
Sorry.
It's actually 50
Okay,
24-hour
I didn't
clinics,
hear that one.
and that would be across the province.
And would there be some in Windsor?
I'm not certain if they've figured out whether or not there will be one in Windsor. They're gonna look at each city individually and see where the need arises.
Okay, location fund, thank you.
Teresa, would you like to respond?
Specific.
You have no? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a question just to the individual candidate. Any other questions from the audience? Yes, sir.
This new hospital is being built. Will that give us the same thing, if rather we won't have to go to London anymore or Detroit? Will we have the same facilities here, the same doctors to do that same type of work?
I will ask each of the candidates for their strategy for the new mega hospital. Teresa?
Certainly, and thanks for the question, because I've been in a number of discussions, as you know, in terms of the planning for the hospital, and the whole idea of having a state-of-the-art hospital is not only to ensure we maintain what we have, but to be able to build on what we have, because what we know is when you have state-of-the-art facilities, you attract specialists. So that's actually what's been happening in our community. As we built our men's health care program, we've attracted specialists in the area. As having a satellite medical school here, we've attracted doctors and specialists to this region. So, in fact, part of the objective of having a state-of-the-art hospital here in Windsor is that that attracts specialists and doctors to this area, B, improves the healthcare and the hospital service that we have as well, and can help us build on what we have with the medical school with respect to research that we do here locally, and actually build on what we have locally. So that is absolutely part of the objective in terms of moving towards a single site, state-of-the-art facility in this region.
Thank you, Teresa. Lisa, would you have a response to the mega hospital question?
The NDP is committed to providing the best care in all of communities all over Ontario. So we believe that although a new building is fantastic, and we will attract doctors, we need to invest in other staff within that hospital so that we can provide the best services possible. We don't want to be sending people up the 401 for care, which is why when we were threatened with losing our thoracic cancer surgery, it was the NDP members that stood up with the community and fought so hard to keep it here. We also have part of our platform is to attract doctors to underserviced communities by forgiving their student loan debt. So if they're going through medical school, if they'll come to a community that really needs their services, then their student loans will be forgiven. So I think that's a big attraction to an area like ours where we don't have some of the specialist services available.
Thank you. Any other questions? You have an opportunity. This is a great opportunity for you to question your candidates. Yes, sir.
I just read the Globe and Mail and her leaders' statements and all that. It's nothing to do with Windsor, but general as an NDP standing. NDP has adopted all the Liberals. I'm an undecided voter. What is NDP there to offer me anything different than Liberals or anybody else so special for them so that I should vote for them? Because
Okay.
what I'm looking at it, what they're saying is, this is a clinker. It gives little coughs and hiccups. I'm going to offer you another clinker. So am I not better off driving my old clinker rather than taking something that I don't know? At least I know that the transformer doesn't work or the exhaust is making the noise. What she has special to offer, the NDP has anything special to offer so that I should jump on the other side?
Well, let me generically rephrase the question to each of the candidates, and I'll rephrase it this way. How is your party different, okay? How is the Liberals different from the NDP? And I'll ask the NDP candidate, how is your party different from the Liberals? First of all, I'll ask Teresa. Teresa, how is your party different from the NDP platform? Or how is your Liberal platform different from the NDP?
Thank you, and thanks for the question. It was a bit of a switch, but this is what, oh, that's right, oh, no, that's all right.
No, this question was addressed to NDP.
Yeah, so that's fine. What I will say, and I only have a couple minutes to do this, so just before this election was called, we came forward with a budget, fully costed, reviewed, and fully brought forward. This was refused. This was not supported by the other two parties. Essentially, the third party, the NDP, said, well, yeah, we do essentially the same, but, you know, well, just trust us. This is their platform. This is what they brought forward yesterday. It's about 5 pages. If you look at the numbers, it doesn't add up. I know they're talking about emergency rooms and nurse practitioners. The money they have set aside here does not cover the cost for what they're saying they will do. So here's the difference. We have a fully costed budget that was not supported with, by the way, all those social justice issues. I looked through this. There were no social justice issues covered in their platform. So what makes us different? What makes us different is over the last 10 years as government, in this community specifically, drive around, see what we brought to this community over the last 10 years. We have delivered in this community. Prior to that, with a conservative government, with an NDP government, nothing was brought to this region. Over the last 10 years, it was. That's the difference that we bring forward, and as your representative, I will continue to deliver for this area as we have. Now, they will tell you that we haven't kept our promises, but their own staff have said they can't really say that. We've kept our promise on auto insurance, financial accountability officer. They're the ones that didn't accept the appointee that came forward. We can go into a number of discussions, but my card is up. I'm done. Thank you.
Lisa, would you like to respond to the question, please?
Now, I'm not sure, you had asked the question. I believe you had mentioned that what we're offering and what the Liberals have in their budget is very similar. That's been in the news. In fact, a lot of what was adopted by the Liberals were NDP ideas. It's not that we didn't support the budget. What we didn't support was 3 promises that were made to Ontarians that weren't followed through on. And when their budget came forward, there were 70 more promises made. So if they haven't kept 3, how are they then going to keep 70 more that they've promised? Also, there was mention of increasing minimum wage to help low-income earners. We actually would like to raise the minimum wage to $12 an hour. But we also recognize that many small and medium-sized businesses can't afford to hire staff at that rate. So we're offering tax credits to those businesses in order for them to be able to hire staff and create those jobs. And those are jobs that will remain in our community. Those aren't just handouts like the Liberals and the PCs want to give out handouts. We are giving that money to those businesses to create jobs in the community with the string attached that those jobs stay in our community. Again, I'll bring up the healthcare. It was in this community, it was the NDPs that actually stepped forward and fought for the people of the community when it came to healthcare. When it came to the Herb Parkway and the issues with the girders, it was the NDP that brought the issues to light. And then the Liberal government acted on it after we brought the concerns forward. So I think it's proven that the Liberal government has great plans, but not a lot of follow through. And it's the NDP that tend to step forward and fight for the people in their communities. So yes, when you look at the budgets and our platform, they're very similar, and that's because they have adopted a lot of our ideas. The issue is that they don't follow through.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Yes, you have a question
I have a
now?
question for Lisa. She mentioned that the NDP was going to forgive the student loans. Is there a guarantee that these doctors would have to stay within our community for a fixed period of time? Or is there nothing? Could they just set up a practice and then 2 years later move out? Or is there going to be some guarantee that if they're forgiven these loans, that they're going to stay there?
Lisa, would you like to respond to the question?
Just like the business tax credits, the job creator credits, and the manufacturing investment credits that we're offering, those have strings attached. Those jobs have to stay in our community. They can't just, that's the issue that we're having now with people investing in these corporations, is there's no strings attached. They get the money and they leave our city.
Exactly.
So there are strings attached in the investments that we're offering to make. Good question, though.
Teresa, do you have a response to the question? No? Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Whenever I open my utilities bill, I'm floored at the cost. I'm glad to see that the NDP are proposing removing the HST. However, one of my pet peeves with all the solar energy, wind, and all this sort of thing is NWIN and private utilities companies are not legislated or required to buy back any extra hydro costs that you produce. So if I put solar panels up and I gain more electricity than I use, I have to buy batteries, and the utilities don't have to accept it. And if I make any money on it, I get charged as a commercial entity. Do either of your governments have anything to prevent us from making money or reducing our hydro costs, forcing the utility to buy back? We have the smart meters, but all we can do is get charged extra for having them. We're still paying on a debt repayment on hydro, and every other corporation that I know of, if they go in debt because of bad management, their corporation has to take care of it. I'm not sure why we as citizens are constantly paying debt recovery for the mistakes of the hydro, and we can't benefit for putting up our own hydro collection.
Okay, thank you for the question. Teresa, would you like to respond, please?
Sure. I'll just start off generally in terms of your question with respect to hydro bills. And certainly we recognize that hydro bills are a concern for everyone. You know, when we formed government in 2003, we inherited a system that was a mess. It wasn't clean, it wasn't reliable, wasn't affordable, and it was badly broken. We've invested billions in this province, in our system, to ensure that we have a reliable system so that when you flick the switch, it turns on across the province. We're determined to help families with costs and have different programs to help save money. There's the Ontario Clean Energy Benefit to provide up to 10% off the hydro bills. Sir, you mentioned the debt retirement charge. So again, as part of our budget, it was to remove the debt retirement charge off of residential bills in December 2015, 3 years ahead of schedule for that. That'll be a reduction of about 4%. We're also working with the Ontario Energy Board to put together an electricity support program as well going forward. And we'll expect about 10% savings from that. And currently too, and in case anyone in the room isn't familiar with it, there's a program that's available right now called the Peak Saver Plus program that you can enroll in for free by calling NWIN. And people that I know that have enrolled in it have been able to save 9 to 10% from being enrolled in this program as well. So you can take a look at that as well, because that's available to you now. So we continue to work to lower those prices as well. We know how critical that is. And specifically to your question, in terms of the green energy, we are constantly working with the companies to ensure that that is done efficiently and effectively. So your question in terms of your personal offload onto the grid is something I know that the Minister of Energy has been looking at as we continue to build on our system.
Lisa?
The NDP is committed to getting the energy costs under control, which means working with organizations within municipalities to make that happen by removing the HST off the bills. We'll be giving retrofit credits for residents that would like to put solar panels up on their homes. So that is something that's on the radar for sure. I don't have a definite answer for it right now, but I know that that is a key goal, is to get the hydro costs under control, which would mean working with municipalities as well.
Our time is almost up. I'll take one more question from the audience. And sir, do you have a question for both candidates?
Yes. It's nice to put all these monies in your budget. You put all this money in for different things that are going on. Who's gonna pay for that? Where's that money coming from?
That's
I mean, when I put all this money into the automobile industry, the only automobile company asking for money is Chrysler. Ford is looking after themselves, and General Motors is looking after themselves. You don't hear them. How are you gonna pay them money and then take care of seniors' pensions?
Very good question. Lisa, would you like to answer the question, respond?
In our community, you may hear more about Chrysler asking for investment, but it's broader than that. It is the automotive industry that are asking for investment. And when we make those investments, they have to be wise investments. There have to be the strings attached that say they do not leave our communities. By having people working in good paying jobs like that, they're contributing to the economy, which generates funds in order for us to make investments into healthcare and pensions. So there's a very important balance there. But I think also key is to manage the money wisely. Manage the money that we do have wisely, not spending it on things like gas plants that are then canceled. That was a large chunk of money that could have been passed down through the system and put into programs, seniors programs, schools, local community organizations. So I think the key is that the money is there, it just needs to be managed properly.
How can the money be there? Where's that money coming from?
It's generated through tax and through the community by having good paying jobs like the automotive industry and those feeder plants off the automotive industry. Those people then put the money back into the economy.
You're putting in seniors' money into this program for these automobile to pay these high wages that us seniors can't even afford to buy a brand new vehicle.
But another efficiency to be had through those large corporations. Right now, the large corporations receive sizable tax breaks, tax cuts. So we want to lessen the tax breaks. So there would still be incentive for them to be in our communities by raising their taxes a little, so they're making their fair share, because currently they get quite a large tax credit.
Currently, that's all the time Lisa has to respond to the question. Thank you. Teresa, would you like to respond to the question?
back to the original question. Okay. So let me just say again, through the budget that we brought forward, that we're on track to reduce the deficit by 2017, 2018. And it's always been a 5-year plan that we've had, but we're going to do this in a balanced way that doesn't hurt our economic recovery and in a way that doesn't cut services that we rely on. We will not do a slash and burn approach to this budget. You know, we often hear about Drummond and the Drummond report and the recommendations that he made to government. But what you often don't hear is that, in fact, we've adopted 80% of his recommendations in terms of our budget. We currently, and this is something else that many don't know, we currently have the lowest spending per capita of any government in Canada. We've met or exceeded our path to balance for 5 years in a row. We're managing the budget, and that, sir, is, I think in terms of your question, what we need to do as a government, we need to look at a number of different areas on how we manage our budget. We need to be responsible, we need to manage our program spending, we need to maintain the integrity of our provincial revenues, we need to enhance tax fairness, and I need to unlock the value of provincial assets, all of which were outlined in our budget, all of which outline where we are now. Part of your question too was with respect to our investments or our supports in the automotive industry. Now again, we're in a very competitive global economy where if we want investments here, if we want jobs to stay here, we need to partner with those companies. Now I'll just go back, my last statement would be back in 2008 when Chrysler and GM were in the state that they were in. Had we not partnered with them, what would this community look like today if we had not? Answer, we did get that money paid back from those organizations as well. So in fact, if we need to protect and retain the jobs, we need to be there working with them as well in a responsible way.
Thank you. Alex, you have the final opportunity to ask a question of both candidates, and then there will be closing remarks. And at the end of the closing remarks, we would invite everyone to stick around and have some coffee and to actually talk to the candidates by individually if you like. Alex, you have the floor.
Well, Mr. Moderator, the question I have, it crosses party lines. It is a matter of concern for me as I see young mothers and babies going by my corner home and talking about healthcare and how important it is. It doesn't start when you are retired, it starts the time you are born. So I am concerned with 3 items that are already in the healthcare system: eyeglasses, hearing aids, and dentures. And my question is, do the parties each have the political will to consider to put all of these completely into the healthcare system, which is a provincial delivery model, or that's what we have? The main reason for that is because it will level the playing field from the day they are born, and it will carry on till they reach my age and beyond.
Thank you, Alex. Teresa, I'm going to ask you to respond first. Thank you.
Sure, and thank you very much for that question. So I'm going to answer it in a kind of couple different ways. So as Minister of Children and Youth Services, myself and the Minister of Health co-chaired, so when you talk about the young kids and prenatal care and the care that children need when they're young as they're developing. So the Minister of Health and I co-chaired the Healthy Kids Cabinet Committee, and part of that was looking at different initiatives to keep our children healthy. And much of that was expanding on prenatal supports, on expanding vaccines for children when they're younger as well. And again, part of our budget was in terms of increasing health benefits for all low-income children, including vision and dental and the like. Now, the next part of that was to move forward with looking at the health benefits for all low income beyond children as well. So, sir, as you say, in terms of when you're not a child anymore, when you become a senior as well, to take a look at a health benefit for all families and all individuals, and have that on a sliding scale. So that work, that study had been started with the Ministry of Health in terms of what the cost would be and how we would be able to implement something like that. So, sir, we absolutely understand the need to keep people healthy prenatally and all the way all through life. So, again, thank you for the question, and something that I see as a priority, and our government does as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa?
Part of the NDP platform that came out is beginning at school-age children, young children. So we're investing in the student nutrition programs. We have far too many kids that come to school hungry every day, and that continues on. Many of our schools even provide lunches for students. So that's a key priority because they need to be having healthy meals. If they're eating well, that means their teeth are in good condition. It contributes to their overall health. We're also looking at bringing back physical education teachers in schools to make sure that the kids are getting the exercise that they need. We're also committed to investing in dental and expanding the dental program for the low-income families for the children. So that's going to reach probably about 100,000 children over Ontario. Beyond that, we're very concerned about families being squeezed, those that are on fixed incomes not being able to afford the necessities. So that is on the top of our minds at all times. So they are looking at ways to assist those that are low income or on a fixed income.
Thank you, Alex. We have to move on, regrettably. It's regrettable.
Just a
But
brief
we're running-
remark, a very brief remark.
I'm sorry, sir. I can't. We're running out of time. Regrettably, I'm sorry.
Want to hear what they
Thank everyone for your questions. Each candidate now will have an opportunity to summarize their position and why they should be elected. Initially, first of all, I'd like to call up Lisa Gretzky from the NDP party.
I think that through my work at the school board, I've proven that I'm accessible to the community, and I'm not just tapped into the educational needs, but I also hear about other issues within the community. So that's given me the ability to see beyond what's going on in my children's schools or in our schools, in our community. I feel the same squeeze that everybody else does when we open our monthly bills. So I have a very good understanding of what it's like to have to make a decision between paying your hydro bill and putting food on the table. And I believe that the NDP party is also tapped into Ontarians, and they truly understand what it's like to have to make those tough decisions. And if elected, I would be hopefully working with Ross Natashak and Percy Hatfield, who have been incredible voices for this community. And I think it just proves that the NDP is not about wasting money. They're looking at effective ways to manage a budget and provide services in a timely manner for all of Ontario. So I hope that I can count on your support, and if you have any questions for me afterwards, feel free to come up and ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Ask the incumbent, Teresa Piruzza from the Liberal Party, to come up and summarize her campaign pledges.
Thank you very much, and thank you again for the opportunity to come here today to speak with all of you, and we'll be around to answer any of your individual questions after we're done up here as well. I've been the member in this area since 2011. Prior to 2011, as I indicated, I was the Director of Employment and Social Services. Windsor West has always been my home. I am absolutely dedicated to this area. And over the last 2.5 years, 3 years since becoming a member, I have used that time very wisely. I've developed a number of relationships. We have a number of projects that are underway, and I'm excited to be able to continue the work that I've been doing over the last couple of years on behalf of this government. And that's how we get results. We don't get results by just talking about an issue, which is great, because talking about an issue, I've always had an open door, whether you're inside my office or, as I say, outside my office as well. I'm here to listen to you, to the community. That's what makes me a representative. That's how I represent this area, by listening to the community. Doesn't matter how it gets to me. Ultimately, then, I take the concerns of this area to Queen's Park. I discuss it with the appropriate minister. I discuss it with the premier. I talk to the right people here in the community. I get the right information, the data, the evidence, and we come up with the right solution. That's what I've been doing on a number of different projects over the last 2.5 years, and hopefully with your help, that's what I'll continue to do beyond June 12th, is to represent this area with dedication, with integrity, and bring my passion for this area to Queen's Park to get results. And that's how I will continue to support this area. Now, just quickly, I know there have been a number of comments made in terms of, for example, jobs. Well, one of the other elements that you should know is that, in fact, in Ontario, we have a net gain of 465,000 jobs over the depth of the recession. So we've regained what we've lost. And remember, that was a global recession. That was not made here in Ontario. We were impacted because we're a manufacturing sector. Lisa also mentioned an older worker training program. Well, there is one already in place. I managed it when I was at the city, so there's a targeted initiative for older workers that is already currently under place. And as well, with respect to auto insurance, we are in fact in the right place in terms of what we will do. We've indicated we will reduce it 15% over 2 years, and on average, we are right now, after the first year, at an 8% reduction. We continue to work with Financial Services Commission of Ontario and the Anti-Fraud Committee to ensure that those costs continue to come down. So we are absolutely focused on that. So I leave you with that, with my work over the last 2.5 years for our community, the work that I've done, the relationships I've made, the programs, the progress that we've made, and I will continue to do that work beyond June 12th. So again, thank you everyone. Thank you very much, and let's enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks.
I'd like to personally thank both candidates for tolerating my mistakes and everything else that we do. And I'd like to thank you for being here. And it's so important that you do get out and vote. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your family, talk to other people. Let them know what you heard today. And please invite them back to the organization. I'd like to thank Mary for being my official timekeeper. I'd like to thank Barb and Caitlin for organizing this, and to the Executive Director, Cal Little, for facilitating this opportunity for you to meet the candidates. At this particular time, there will be a meet and greet. You'll have an opportunity to talk to the candidates. Sir, I'm not taking questions, so you can hold your hand up like this until it falls off. The last final thing is that on June the 4th, there will be an opportunity for the Windsor to come see candidates, to have all candidates meeting at the East Side Center at the Windsor Family Credit Union. Basically, that's all I have to say. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great day.